Hey, what's up? This is Sully from Godsmack. Strap on those boots, baby, because you are now in the trenches of the war room with the one and only Mistress Carrie right here on the Mistress Carrie podcast.
What's up? This is Joe Rogan, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Her hair so lovely. Pretty eyes.
Hey, this is Brent from Shinedown, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie. Hey, Carrie, go put your bra on, girl.
Hey, this is Steven Tyler, and you be listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
What's up? This is Aaron from Stain, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Hi, everybody. This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, and you're listening to the one, the only Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is David from the band Disturbed, and you're listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
Hi, Bruce Dickinson here from Iron Maiden. Yes, indeed, Miss Whiplash herself, Mistress Carrie, is here to unchain your brain.
Hi, this is Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You're listening to Mistress Carrie.
This is Dennis Leary. You are listening to my favorite, Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is Corey from Stone Sour, and you have the privilege of listening to Mistress Carrie.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's Mistress Carrie, reporting for duty from MCHQ for episode 241 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. And before we get to this week's guest, Myles Kennedy, I want to remind you about all of the features at MistressCarrie.com. You can find every episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast and every episode of my weekly streaming video show, Cocktails in the War Room. There's also a concert calendar featuring all of the rock shows coming through New England. You can find my bio, send me a message here in the studio, read my blog, and shop in the online Mistress Carrie store. Find all of that and more at MistressCarrie.com. Myles Kennedy is an artist that is always juggling more than one project. He's the lead singer of Alter Bridge and the lead singer of Slash featuring Myles Kennedy and the Conspirators. But right now, he's out on the road in support of his latest solo album, The Art of Letting Go. He's touring with Tim Montana and Sons of Silver and is hitting the Brighton Music Hall in Boston on January 27th. This is Myles' third appearance on the podcast, and we talked everything from Slash and the Muppets to vinyl and hair dye to album artwork, the Creed reunion, and so much more. Find the link to get your tickets to see Myles Kennedy at the Brighton Music Hall on January 27th in the show notes of this episode. So allow me to reintroduce you to Myles Kennedy. Mr. Myles Kennedy, thanks for coming back on the show. It's good to see you.
It's great to see you. I love your glasses, by the way.
Thank
Those
you.
are ruling.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Same to you. I hope it's off to a good start.
It's been an interesting year thus far. I brought it up because I saw your holiday message on social media. Are you a closet Muppet nerd? I saw your Dark Crystal post. Are you in the Muppet cult with me?
I don't know if I'm in the Muppet. Okay, so here's the story behind that. Since I was in the 8th grade, when it was roughly when, and this is showing my age, when the Dark Crystal came out, my friends were like, you look like that character on the Dark Crystal with the way your ears come out of your hair. So when I saw that picture and then I saw the whole little family, it even kind of looked like Selena. And I was like, oh, we got to use this. So I took the picture and I took the picture and put the little hats on it and I thought it'd be fun. Not too many people got the joke, but I'm glad you got it.
I am begging you to please, will you two both dress up as that for Halloween this year? Please.
Sure.
That would be
great
amazing. I'm in that Jim Henson Muppet cult. I am like a psycho Muppet fan.
Yeah, so, Jim was the best.
Yeah, so when I had a chance to talk to Alice Cooper, who was on the original show we grew up with, I was peppering him with questions. He said it was the best thing he ever did in his career.
I remember that. That really was a great show. That really was. What was the name of the two old guys that would be up in the...
Waldorf and Statler.
Yes, I love those
I'm even a Muppet
Ken
myself.
Tinker,
That's
old...
Muppet Mistress back there. See her?
Oh, wow. Look at that. That's pretty damn cool.
That's what I would look like if I were a Muppet.
That's pretty awesome.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. You're going to be in Boston at the end of the month.
Yes, I am.
I am warning you, I'm coming to the show.
All right. Well, great. I'm excited to know that. We'll try not to suck too much.
I've become pretty good friends with Tim Montana, who I love. So when I saw that you guys were touring together, I was psyched.
Yeah, I'm really excited to finally meet him. Everybody has just said he's just a great guy. I like the tunes I'm hearing. And he's from the Northwest. He's from just hop, skip, and a jump away over in Montana, and I'm here in Spokane. So yeah, I'm very excited.
You guys are going to be in New England for 2 shows. You're going to be at the Mohegan Sun Casino in Connecticut on the 24th of January, and then at the Brighton Music Hall in Boston on the 27th. So
yes.
You're brave for touring in the Northeast at the end of January. I give you credit. A lot of artists are too wimpy to do it.
All right. Well, it's the cold doesn't scare me, given where I'm from. I have no fear of the cold. What I do have a fear of is getting cold. So hopefully, as a singer, that's not going to happen. We're going to stay very positive, and we're going to stay healthy, and everything's going to be A-okay.
I will bring you some of my homemade turkey soup to protect you from getting sick, because I know how hard, you and I have talked about it on the show before, how hard you try to protect your voice.
Yeah, it's a challenge. That's the curse of being a singer. You're always thinking about it. But I did this tour in Europe. I shouldn't even say this because I'm going to jinx it, but I did the tour in Europe for about 6 weeks back in November, October, November, a little bit of December, and I was totally healthy. No problem. So we're gonna continue that tradition.
The last time you were on the show, you and I talked about the songwriting process that you go through with Slash and how you guys kind of go about writing songs together. And I asked you, what would happen if you brought a riff into Slash? Because he, as you called him, is the riff master.
Oh, yeah.
And you were like, oh, he'd probably pat me on the head and be like, oh, that's cute, Myles, whatever. So after I talked to you, I had Slash on the show. And I said to him, this is what Myles said. What would you do if he brought riffs to you? And he was mad at you for not having enough confidence in he's like, Myles writes great riffs. He could bring riffs he was mad. He's like, he can't undersell what a good guitar player he is. He's a great player.
Oh, that's funny. Well, that's very, very nice of him. But the reality of the situation is I may be okay at the guitar, but he operates at a different level. And I don't. And the other thing about him is he's just so prolific. I mean, that's the crazy part, is just how there's so many riffs there. They're just waiting to come out. So I'm not going to hold him back. I don't want to be the guy, getting in the way of that.
Well, I bring it up because the tour you're on right now, the Myles Kennedy solo tour, it's a 3-piece. So you can't knock your guitar playing abilities because you're playing and singing at the same time, Myles.
Yeah, it's fun. I do love that, but it's a challenge. It's every night when you get on stage and we don't. It's so exposed, right? So it's like if I hit a bum chord, people are going to know it, but that's okay. I think that's part of the beauty of it. Because yes, singing and playing at the same time, especially some of these riffs, which are can be a little challenging, and to try and sing over the top of that. At times I'll find myself, cursing myself for the writing process. Be like, why did you put this melody over this riff? You're an idiot. You should have just not sung over this. Just let the riff breathe, man. Why do you always have to sing over everything? But I do love it. And there's a level of improvisation. Like every night I'll change intros, I'll change solos. You just never know. In fact, we were in London, and Zia, our drummer, who I've known, started playing together when we were kids back in the 80s. He's one of my favorite drummers ever. He's just an incredible player. London's kind of important, right? It's a big show. And he's like, Myles, please don't throw him any curveballs tonight. Please promise me no curveballs. Oh, no problem, Zia. No curveballs. And the minute we get up there, I forget. I just get lost in the moment, and I just start noodling and play this, and that leads into the song. And he's just like, he's shaking his head at me like, damn you, Kennedy.
I'm on a bunch of different radio stations now all around the country. And so sometimes keeping the call letters and the slogans straight can be tough.
Yeah.
You've got obviously your solo band, the 3-piece we're talking about. You are Slash's singer, Slash featuring Myles Kennedy and the Conspirators, and then obviously Alter Bridge. So when you're up there with your solo band and in charge of singing and playing guitar, Is there ever a point where you forget to play the guitar because you're a front man in these other bands?
No. I actually, the guitar, I think that's part of that's the big draw for me on this, is really getting to play guitar and challenge myself. That's kind of the thing I'll have the guitar with me all day, just kind of noodling, getting warmed up, getting ready. So sometimes I'll actually forget to sing. It's almost the other way around. Like I'm so just jacked to get to play guitar all night that the singing and the kind of being the front man thing kind of goes away. And then I get concerned. I'm like, oh, is this entertaining enough? Because I get so lost in the guitar stuff. I'm just nerding out and closing my eyes and playing 5-minute guitar solos, and just forgetting about it becomes so much about just the art of guitar with this. And I savor every minute of it.
I watch people that have played for decades. You talk about Slash or Mark Tremonti, right? You have this amazing knack of being in bands with unbelievable guitar players. And these guys still have passion for the guitar and pick it up like they've never played it before. Like it's this new thing. So I feel like that's what you're talking about, where like you're so excited to like shred. To me, I'm trying to imagine something you've done for decades and it feeling as brand new as it did the day you picked it up, because you guys are all such prolific players, something you've been doing for years.
Yeah. The guitar is, I'm a little biased here. I've heard people say that it's like the greatest instrument, like electric guitar is like the greatest instrument ever, but I tend to agree. There's just something about it. It's just kind of checks all the boxes. And I'm so grateful. I'm forever grateful to my stepdad, actually, because when in the 80s, when I really got bit by the rock and roll bug, and I played air guitar, and every day I'd come home from school and put on it, whether it was Judas Priest or Van Halen or whatever, and sit there in front of the mirror with a tennis racket and jam for an hour. And then I would put together these air bands, and we'd put on these little shows for our friends where you're pretending like you're playing. It was ridiculous, but that was kind of a thing back in the 80s, And,
we didn't have the internet. You have to give us a little leeway. We were bored.
Exactly. We were bored. So one day we're camping with my folks, and I'm like, Dad, I'm so excited. We've got an air band show from my buddies, and it's going to be so fun. And, we made a drum set out of Quaker oat boxes. It was a true story. And finally, my stepdad looks at me kind of stoking the fire and kind of half disgustedly. And he turns around and he says, son, why don't you just learn to play for real? And I was like, what? That's a brilliant idea. So that was the moment. I'm very grateful to him for that, because I don't know what I probably would still be jamming in front of a mirror with a tennis racket if he hadn't suggested that to me. So, yeah, thanks, Dad.
It seems like something that would be, as a kid, that's what famous people do. So the idea that you could do it seems almost unattainable.
Play guitar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before you could watch people learn how to do it on YouTube. We're talking about the 80s growing up, where the only exposure to guitars that you had was Eddie Van Halen, and who thinks they could be that?
Right. Yeah. Because it seems so unattainable, especially what guys like that were doing, Eddie and Yngwie and all. It's like, well, how are you going to ever try and play any of that stuff? But I just worked at it. I just never, it was interesting because once I started playing, nobody saw me. My grades dropped. I was a pretty decent student. My GPA dropped by a full point. They kicked me out of honor society. True story. Like I was doing really well as a student, and then I found the guitar, and I didn't care about anything. I'd sit in class all day long, drawing guitars, thinking about what I was going to practice when I got home, but somehow it all worked out.
Yeah, well, you really could have made something of yourself, Myles, if you had not picked up the guitar.
Right.
I think you're giving your dad too much credit. Maybe he gave you that advice because he didn't want to sit through an air guitar concert.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we talk about your album? Because The Art of Letting Go, when What I love about this new era of vinyl is that we're back at like being able to really appreciate artwork again, right? Because like the little Spotify icons of your album just don't do it justice. And
Right.
you, like a lot of other artists, have spent a lot of time working on the vinyl issues of your releases. The artwork on this record is intricate and in-depth and really cool.
Thank you.
So you got to tell me the story.
I didn't have it. I didn't do it, but I appreciate. After I said thank you, I was like, "What an idiot!" But no, I'm not going to take credit where credit. I did not do that record, that cover. A guy named Riza Peker, I believe it's Peker, and Tim found him. Tim found him just doom scrolling on one of the socials, and was like, "What do you think of this guy's artwork?" And I was like, "That's badass." And so we connected with him and kind of told him what we were thinking, and so he was able to incorporate all these different elements from previous projects, and there are a lot of Easter eggs in that, like the owl from Ides of March, and there's just a lot of different things. A tiger from Year of the Tiger, blah blah blah. But yeah, I've never ever done a record and a cycle and promoting a record where more people have been interested in the artwork. So kudos to him. He just knocked it out of the park.
Not only that, but you released the vinyl in purple, and I just want to point out that it's the one that's sold out on the website. So,
well, I noticed, unless is that you have a purple glow? Is that the light hitting the back of your head? Because it looks. Oh, it is. It's the light from here. It looks like your hair is purple.
It is purple.
And so I was like, oh, it is.
Yeah, my hair has always been purple.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, but it's like very majestic right now, in a good way.
It's like a halo of purpleness.
I like it. I'm going to ask you. I'm thinking of integrating some color into mine because
I can dye the shit out of your hair, Myles. Come to Boston. I'll do it on the bus.
All right. Well, I'm thinking because I'm kind of letting it go gray. I'm kind of like, but I like to incorporate maybe some wacky color here and there, just a strand. Maybe we'll do that.
I dyed my hair purple the first time on my 18th birthday, and my mother cried.
Really?
And then I kept it, and she was like, "What are you going to do? Be 40 and have purple hair? Like, who's going to take you seriously?" And now I'm like way past 40, and it's just. No one would recognize me without it at this point.
I think it's badass.
It just is. I mean, it so much so, by the way, Myles, just a little business advice.
I see that.
If you make it your logo, you can write off the hairdresser as a tax deduction.
Wow, that's a good idea.
See?
I like it.
I'm not just a beautiful face and personality, Myles. I got brains.
You got brains, and so that purple album was, it's for you. It's made specifically for you.
Obviously, I love all of the colored vinyl, and I've been like doom scrolling these crazy videos of how they press it. Did you go to the plant and watch them make the record? No. It's so cool.
I would love to do that though, because it's interesting you bring that up because I recently really tried to up my game with my turntable. And I, for years, just had this cheap like forever, just nothing special. And I finally okay, I'm going to get a Techniques or however you say it, a real legit turntable. And so I got the right, as far as the stylus and putting the cartridge together and the whole thing. And I learned so much. But in understanding that more, I watched how they make the vinyl, and it's just such a craft and such a delicate craft. Anything can go horribly wrong, so.
I went to a place like an audio store because I have an old turntable and it just needs a little love to get it to work again. And I go in and I go, "I think I need a new needle." And they were like, "Ma'am, it's a stylus."
Right.
And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm from the era when we were still calling them needles."
Right. Me too. That makes two of us.
Yeah. I was shocked that the terminology was not correct.
Well, it's crazy just what a difference those make. There's a whole, and you can spend thousands of dollars on those things. It's nuts.
Yeah.
And it's I sat there for hours trying to get it right and the balance. And if you have if it's too heavy, it's going to dig into the record and then ruin your needle. If it's too light, it's blah, blah, blah. And I learned a lot over the holidays.
Did you, keep all of your original vinyl? Are you the audiophile that has your whole collection from when you were younger? Or are you kind of in the new phase of vinyl collecting and you're back going through and buying the old stuff you used to have that as a dumb kid you got rid of?
Yeah, I think that most of mine's probably tucked in the basement at my parents' house. So I really want to find those. So my first 2 vinyls were Queen News of the World and then the first Boston record, and I really want to find those. That would be golden. But everything else I've acquired, within the last 20 years. But you know what I'd really like to find are my 45s.
Oh,
yeah, and I'm not ashamed to admit, I had Sean Cassidy's "Do Run Run" on 45. Staying Alive on 45.
I can't shame you. I had Leif Garrett, babe. Okay.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah.
No kidding.
And I think I still have Disco Duck on vinyl as well.
Oh,
I'm not
yeah.
ashamed of that. But every kid, what was it about News of the World? Like that album artwork, I have my original copy of it. It was so scary and cool.
Mm-hmm. The best. And obviously the music backed it up. But boy, that album, talk about album covers.
Yeah.
Jeez, and then you opened it up, and that whole experience was something I'll never forget. That I mean, I can still just see the room, and when I got home from Kmart and just saved my allowance and took it out of the wrapper and opened it up. And, whoa, what is this? This is amazing. It was such a, yeah. I'm glad that people have, the vinyl thing has kind of come back around. That's beautiful.
Kmart popcorn, a cherry icy, and the vinyl section. And I was gone all afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Those
good.
are the days.
Before I let you go, I got to talk to you about some of the other projects that you got going on, because obviously when it comes to Alter Bridge, you guys are going to do an anniversary edition of One Day Remains. Getting anything done with Mark right now has got to be a pain in the ass because of this whole, this little Creed thing he's got going on this last
little side
year.
project, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's nice because I think for so many years, I think they were getting frustrated with me because of, all the stuff I was doing with Slash, and it was just, it was really hard scheduling wise. Now everybody's in the same boat. So it's now our management and agents are all just like, oh man, how are we going to make this work? But they do. And I think that that's a testament to just how great they are. But and Mark's also got the Sinatra thing as well. So
and and Tremonti just released a record the other day,
a new record. So, I think the essence with all of us is just that we like to work. We love making music. We love to work, and I think that's why we've been a band for 20 years, because we're all on the same page.
I don't think anybody could have put any amount of money down in Vegas on what would have happened with Creed in the last year. Like, no one could have predicted the year that band has had.
No.
It's insane, the comeback that's happened.
No, all the planets definitely lined up, from it was a sporting thing. I'm not a sports guy. So
Super Bowl commercial.
Super Bowl. Yeah.
That little sporting
idiot
thing.
I am. Little sporting thing. People are like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? True story though. I'm just, there's a reason I don't watch sports, because I will curse the team. This is a true story. I shouldn't say.
Just say it, Myles.
Yeah, let's just put it this way. I will curse the team. I'm going to leave it at that. Any team I root for, you will lose. So I'm not even going to say anything else, because it's a whole thing. But anyways, I think that that in conjunction with just enough time had gone by, and people were like, man, I miss those songs. Those songs were great, and they're filling up arenas, and it's a beautiful thing.
What about the music? I've read quotes about how excited you are about the new Slash stuff that you're working on.
Yeah, it's exciting. Now I just need to get in and actually record my part of it, my vocals. But musically, Slash and I have been exchanging demos up till before I left from the solo tour in Europe. And so the good news for me is that my parts, I was able to get that all written, and he signed off on it. He was like, I like this, so we're golden. And so they get, they can go in the studio and do what they need to do and get their parts done. And then when I have a window, will knock out my vocals.
I just talked to Jesse Leach from Killswitch Engage about how every band swaps files by email now, and songs are getting written while people are on opposite sides of the planet.
Good. Technology is a beautiful thing. I love Jesse. He's a good dude. Yeah, it's crazy how that's changed things, and it's really made it so that you can be like bi-coastal. You can live all the way around the world and have a band together. It works great.
Well, not only that, but juggling multiple projects. I don't think you or Mark or Slash would be able to juggle everything that you're doing if you couldn't remote the way that you are now. It would have been almost impossible.
You're right. I think you're absolutely right. I think that the technology has allowed. I think that's why you have as many, because think back a few decades, you didn't have bands who had multiple projects like this. I mean, you had an occasional thing. Do you remember what was the thing where it was like Neil Sean? It was in the mid '80s, and like Neil, maybe Sammy. Was it Sammy Hagar? I don't know. It was like they were off all these offshoots, these bands that, and you're like, oh wow, that's amazing. But as time has gone on, there become more and more of those. And I think it's because of technology, because you can make it work.
And rock and roll is in this new era of feature appearances too, like artists just doing a song with other artists, something hip hop's been doing for decades. And now in the last couple of years, rock is all over it.
Yes, it's a good point. Hip hop has been doing that for years, and it seems like the rock genre is picking up on that, which is cool to see. I think it's great for the listener, because you have this brand that you used to hear in a certain way, and then you incorporate the flavor of another voice that you're familiar with. Oh, it's kind of like having it's like mixing like Jack and Coke, right?
I'm going to see you on the 27th at the Brighton Music Hall. And now that I have the nugget of information that whatever team you root for loses, so I'm bringing you a Yankees hat.
Okay, great. Perfect.
As a true Bostonian would, I'm bringing you a Yankees hat.
Perfect. Well, I don't know if I could pull that off because I was born in Boston, so that would make me a traitor. So,
but if you are that guy that brings bad luck to a team, then we will give you a mulligan and excuse you, and you can wear the Yankees hat as long as it makes them lose.
Okay. All right. You got a deal.
It was so good to see you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll see you at the end of the month.
Wonderful. Thanks for your time.
See ya.
All right. Take care.
There he is, Myles Kennedy. His latest solo album, The Art of Letting Go, is available everywhere. And you can see him live on January 24th at the Mohegan Sun Casino in Connecticut and January 27th at the Brighton Music Hall in Boston. You'll find the link to get tickets in the show notes of this episode. You'll also find the link to this episode's corresponding playlist. I make a playlist for every full-length episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast that features all of my guest music and all the artists and songs that we referenced in the interview. You'll also find all of Myles' links, all of Alter Bridge's links, and all of Slash featuring Myles Kennedy and the Conspirators links. And of course, you'll find the Mistress Carrie links too. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and share the Mistress Carrie podcast. New full-length episodes come out every Wednesday. Plus, every weekday, you get the Sit Rep. The Situation Report gives you all of your rock news, music headlines, and entertainment updates in about 5 minutes. And you never know when we're going to release a bonus episode. Join me live every Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern for my weekly video show, Cocktails in the War Room. And you can listen to the Mistress Carrie radio show. Get the details on all of that and more at mistresscarrie.com. The Mistress Carrie podcast, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network.